Hi there, how's it going? Glad to have you with us from all over the world. If you're new here, welcome to the family. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We've got breaking news. Israel's home front commanders reported a missile launch from Sana'a, Yemen.
You're now watching live footage of Israelis fleeing the beaches the moment the air raid sirens went off. As you can see, there's panic and chaos, with many people running for safety.
The Yemeni armed forces have carried out a precision missile strike targeting Lod Airport, known in Israel as Ben Gurion Airport, in the occupied Jaffa area. The missile used was a hypersonic ballistic missile, and according to sources, it hit its target successfully. Meanwhile, Trump has cut off communication with Netanyahu, and the US ambassador has said clearly, "We don't need Tel Aviv's permission to strike a deal with the Houthis."
The Houthis, for their part, have declared that Israel's Dimona nuclear facility is now one of their next targets. Sana'a confirmed that their agreement with Washington does not include Tel Aviv. Under pressure from Saudi Arabia, the US is backing down. The UAE is reaching out to Tel Aviv, and Trump appears to be warming up to the Houthis.
Global airlines are shaking Tel Aviv with their reaction to this decision.
Netanyahu is preparing for a large-scale military operation in Gaza, claiming this will be the final, decisive blow. Meanwhile, Jordan's king is demanding compensation for the aid his country provided to Gaza. Nothing comes free, he says.
India has launched airstrikes on Pakistani targets, and Pakistan has responded.
India's drone mission failed to hit its targets, and now Chinese aircraft have entered the conflict, siding with Pakistan.
India has vowed to retaliate.
Over in Moscow, the future of the ceasefire depends on Kiev's actions, and Hungary is refusing to send billions in aid to Ukraine.
Unexpected turns are coming fast. The conflict between the Houthis and Tel Aviv is heating up and reaching deep into economic and political spheres.
Experts are saying this might not be the end, but the start of a major war.
There's a growing sense of confusion and anxiety in Israel's political and military circles, especially after Tel Aviv's airstrikes completely destroyed Sana'a International Airport and damaged its ports and power stations.
In response, the Houthis have threatened to strike sensitive targets in Tel Aviv.
Reuters reported that Israeli intelligence believes multiple missile strikes, possibly even on the Dimona nuclear reactor, are possible, which is spreading panic across Tel Aviv.
The situation escalated after President Trump announced a halt to attacks on Yemen without informing Tel Aviv, which Israeli media called a stab in the back.
Channel 2 described the situation as sliding into a war of attrition.
Heavy US losses in Yemen, Israeli concerns grow and regional tensions escalate. Regarding US losses in Yemen, a BBC report stated that America has lost more aircraft in its air campaign over Yemen than in all its conflicts combined over the past 20 years. The report noted the downing of 3 F-18 fighter jets and 22 MQ drones, marking an unprecedented level of aerial losses for Washington. Retired US Colonel Daniel added that America lost 1 drone in a failed strike during the conflict with the Houthis and has spent around $3 billion without any clear results. He warned that anyone who thinks these strikes will benefit Tel Aviv or Washington is mistaken, pointing out the US already has 10 years of failed Saudi-backed experience in Yemen. Meanwhile, the chairman of the Red Sea Ports Corporation, engineer Zayed Al-Washli, confirmed that food and goods are arriving at Hodeida port on schedule without price hikes or delays, with ships unloading around the clock as normal. On the other side, tensions are rising in Tel Aviv amid growing security fears. Israeli media reported that Air Europa cancelled its flight to Tel Aviv, while Etihad Airways increased its weekly flights to 28 to cover the gap. Etihad's deputy CEO also visited Tel Aviv to confirm the airline's commitment despite the situation. Israel's defense minister warned of painful retaliation if Houthi attacks continue, and the Israeli security establishment held emergency talks to prepare for potential strikes on infrastructure and the power grid. Channel 14 reported that Israel's response will be immediate. On the political front, Itamar Ben-Gvir expressed frustration with Trump, saying Israel should rely on itself and stop depending on the US. Meanwhile, Israel Hayom quoted US sources saying Trump is moving ahead with his Middle East plans without consulting Tel Aviv, reportedly due to his disappointment with Netanyahu. Now, from Yemen's front lines to, well, King Abdullah of Jordan, who has become quite the focal point, a Washington Post report revealed that Jordan has imposed high fees on airdropping humanitarian aid to Gaza, $100 for random drops and up to $400,000 for precise ones, even though each drop carries only half the load of a truck. And while the aid appears to come from Jordan, most of it is actually funded by foreign governments and NGOs. As the saying goes, nothing comes for free. From Jordan's generosity to developments on the Palestinian front, air raid sirens were heard in near Yitzhak and Sufa near Gaza, according to Israeli reports, as tensions continue to escalate. At the same time, Netanyahu announced preparations for a major military operation in Gaza, aiming to defeat Palestinian factions and retrieve hostages. In other developments, Israeli military radio reported that Trump has cut ties with Netanyahu, and Trump aides told Israel's Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer that Trump feels manipulated by Netanyahu and doesn't like being played.
Meanwhile, China has come out in support of Pakistan as conflict with India heats up. Defense analysts are now warning that things could spiral into a nuclear confrontation. India's defense ministry announced airstrikes on radar and air defense sites inside Pakistan. But Pakistan's defense minister told Reuters the Indian drones caused little damage. He said any retaliation would include hitting Indian military facilities. India's Civil Aviation Authority closed 24 airports as a precaution, while Pakistan's foreign minister claimed that all Indian jets were shot down by Chinese-made J-10C fighter planes. Pakistan had previously announced the purchase of 25 J-10C multi-role fighters from China in 2021. These jets are equipped with locally manufactured WS-10B engines and built by Chengdu Aircraft Corporation.
Russian President Putin has put the ball in Ukraine's court, saying Kyiv will determine the conflict's future. Yuri Ushakov, Putin's international affairs advisor, said Moscow's next moves will depend on how the ceasefire, which began at midnight on May 8th and ends May 10th, holds. The ceasefire marks the anniversary of Russia's World War II victory. Ushakov emphasized that Kyiv's actions will directly influence Russia's willingness to continue talks, and any future decisions will depend on how this truce plays out. Meanwhile, Hungary's Foreign Minister Peter Szijjarto slammed the EU's plan to send more military aid to Ukraine, saying his country will not support the proposed €100 billion in military funding over the next 7 years. Speaking to M1 TV, he called the plan outrageous and dangerous, vowing that Budapest will do everything possible to block it.
Thanks so much for watching. Let us know your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. At S News, we're committed to giving you honest, traditional reporting. See you in the next video.